Welcome to the Rude Barn Podcast. I am the Barn, and right next to me here,
I'm the Rude. What's up, gang?
Lunatic is on the grass. Lunatic is on the
what is
happening?
going on?
It's a beautiful day outside, and it's a beautiful day inside to talk about
Something
bullshit.
like Kamala.
Call me Cammy, as I like to say.
It's just, I don't care if people like her or don't like her or whatever, but it's when they're uninformed and they think we're uninformed.
Mhm.
They're watching is MSNBC and CNN and ABC, CBS, NBC, blah blah blah, and they think that she's wonderful, and that's fine. You can think she's wonderful, but don't give me crap because I don't. And I think the other guy is the better candidate, and I don't think he's perfect by any means whatsoever. And he says a lot of stupid shit as well.
Well,
But,
there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of character slamming that both sides can do, and us, if you guys have been following and watching, we called out some things that Trump did and Trump said, and obviously there's some stuff in his past that's not favorable, but those are character flaws, those are mistakes that people make, and but you got to look at the politics, and if the politics are there, then you got to make a smart choice. If the politics aren't there and we're going to just run through another 4 years of the same bullshit, I don't want to do it.
yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Well, and the big thing for me is all the promises she's making. All these. Oh, we're going to close the border. We're going to do this, that, and the other. The economy. Well, the economy is hard. People are having a tough time. Well, who's in power right now?
Exactly.
And why aren't you doing anything about it?
Problem. Yeah, she was part of the problem in the beginning, and then she wants to say that she's the people's candidate. You're the people's candidate?
Really?
Were you the people's vice president for the last 3.5 years? I don't think so.
Yeah,
and haven't done a damn thing to show for it, except
I don't
be
think
the last person in the room to fuck up our economy and bring in illegals and give them thousands and thousands of dollars and giving them the right to vote. No,
right.
That's
Well,
not the people's.
I don't even think she went to the border ever. If she did, she went to the nice part of the border where nobody's crossing because there's a wall there.
Who built?
Right. Exactly. And so, so she goes on and says all this stuff about, the border, and she's going to fix all this, that, and the other, but she hasn't done a damn thing about it, and then she's asked in an interview by, what's his name from CBS. And, he asked her, well, so have you been to the border? And so she says, well, I haven't been to Europe
either. Yeah.
I haven't been to Europe. What's your point? Our point is,
Saturn.
sister, is that you're the border czar. You were put in place to take care of the border, and you didn't. You actually made it worse.
It made it worse, yeah.
By 100-fold or 1,000-fold, something like that. Anyway, it's crazy. So, Jesse Waters from Fox News, and some people, oh, it's Fox News. Like, well, okay, that's fine, but take this for what it is. You guys see all the CNN stuff and MSNBC. We're going to try to show you some alternate stuff that you may not have seen. And if you do, are more right-leaning like we are, you're going to sit here and say, oh, yeah, this made a lot of sense. And you know what? There's sometimes that CNN and MSNBC and those guys do make sense. And so does Fox. Are they perfect? No, not by any means. Are they mainstream? Yes, they all are. That's why we try to find different sources. So here we have Jesse Waters. He's going to be talking about this whole thing and kind of breaking down what's going on with everything. And it's kind of explains what's going on and why people need to kind of see what's really happening with Kamala's plans, because she never has any specifics. She always hems and haws. It's a wonderful day and everybody's going to be a great well, how are you going to do this? Well, I'm from middle class and or whatever. I mean, it goes on and on. So let's listen to a little of this and we'll kind of stop and comment through. It's a little long, but you know what? It has a lot of good information in here. So we'll just get going and we'll stop it here and there.
It took over 2 months for Kamala Harris to finally sit down for her first solo interview on a major news network. And she decided to do the interview with this lady.
I just said I'm not going to vote for her.
Is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
Oh my God. Here we go again. The talking points, the kind of threat he is to democracy. And guess what? She's right. We have seen what he's done for 4 years. We have seen what she's not done for 4 years.
Yeah.
So in a sense, she's making the argument without and thinking she's bashing Trump, but they go back to the talking points. He's a threat to democracy. How is he a threat any more so than the Biden-Harris administration when they're trying to take out their opponent by all these lawsuits and assassination attempts and not putting enough Secret Service on him while he campaigns? Who's really more of a threat to our democracy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
The problem that a lot of people have with Kamala is we don't know her answer to anything.
Exactly.
Okay,
But you know
And I
his
think
answer to everything.
Kamala heard that and said, "What are you doing Wednesday?" Stephanie Ruhle is a business analyst on NBC. She's a Trump hater. And the interview focused on the economy, something Kamala can't talk about because if she said what her plan was, she'd lose in a landslide.
For those who say these policies aren't for me, what do you say to them?
Well, if you are hardworking, if you have the dreams and the ambitions and the aspirations of what I believe you do.
This is what happens when she doesn't have a teleprompter or a earpiece telling her what to say.
Yeah, she looks high as shit. And what people don't keep rolling.
Yeah.
Because I've got a huge
I have to tell you,
I hear you.
I really love and am so energized by what I know to be the spirit and character of the American people. We have ambition. We have aspirations. We have dreams. We can see what's possible. We have an incredible work ethic. But not everyone has the access to the opportunities that allow them to achieve those things.
Bullshit.
My vision for the economy, I call it an opportunity economy, is about making sure that all Americans, wherever they start, wherever they are, have the ability to actually achieve those dreams and those ambitions. I come from the middle class. Look, my mother raised my sister and me. She worked hard. She saved.
Her parents were professors at Stanford and Berkeley.
Yeah, that's not middle class.
That is not middle class. She did not grow up middle class. She's lying, and she keeps putting this out there. They moved to Montreal, I believe, and lived in a really nice neighborhood in Montreal. Somebody did a segment where they visited where she lived, and it's a nice, I mean, it's not freaking Beverly Hills, but it's a nice neighborhood. So she keeps lying about this.
It's Upper East Side from where we're at, where we live.
Exactly.
By the time I was a teenager, she was able to buy our first home. And, home ownership for too many people in our country now is elusive. Gone is the day of everyone thinking they could actually live the American dream.
Has she ever answered the question, by the way?
No, still hasn't answered the question.
Nope, still hasn't.
Kamala was just asked about her policies. She rambled and then said the American dream is gone. She's been in power for 4 years and said the American dream's gone. She just sank her campaign. But that was just the beginning.
You can skip this video, but you can't skip the truth.
Sorry. Got to run through this.
Right now in North Gaza, children...
There we go.
How do you go after price gouging without implementing price controls? Because once we get in this zone, people start to get worried and they say, I don't know what she stands for.
And we don't.
Just to be very frank, I am never going to apologize for going after companies and corporations that take advantage of the desperation of the American people. Yeah, I'm going to go after them. Yes, I'm going to go after them.
So price controls are still on the table. That's not going to fly in this country. What about trade policy?
Tariffs aren't unique to President Trump. President Biden has tariffs in place. He's actually looking to potentially implement more. Where do you come out on? Is there a good tariff, a bad tariff?
Well, part of it is you don't just throw around the idea of just tariffs across the board. And that's part of the problem with Donald Trump. Frankly,
Is he throwing tariffs around across the board?
No, it's not across the board. Again, I don't think that she knows what the definition of tariff is.
Right. Yeah. She doesn't get. He has put tariffs, which is basically a tax
Mhm.
on imported goods from places like China, so that they don't destroy our U.S. companies who can't compete when China sells the shit for half the price or whatever it is from what we can sell it for. So if he doesn't put tariffs on something to even out the pricing so that our companies that are US born and made can compete, then China will destroy our economy.
Well, and that's kind of the thing. And that's where you get the question of price gouging. Well, I can't buy anything US made because it's too goddamn expensive. Well, it's too goddamn expensive is because China's bringing their garbage in here. That's cheap. It's made by slave labor,
Right.
and that's why it's cheap. And they're sending it in here, and people are buying it up.
Right.
And then and that surpasses the American companies, and they're suffering for it.
Right. Well, and the other thing too is, when you are forcing companies to pay $20 an hour or something like that, when that's not what it is, you're also raising the cost of everything because your labor costs are higher.
Mhm.
And everybody wants it both ways. They want everybody to make a living wage so that they can survive, but they also want, affordable goods. And it kind of doesn't work both ways.
No,
And-
you can't. You can't do one without hurting the other,
Right.
both ways. And that's the thing. In this economy, you can't pay somebody $20 an hour without reducing your labor force.
Yeah, or
So,
the
okay,
quality of the product.
Yeah, or the quality of the product, and that goes one and the same, right? So you reduce your labor force, then you're sacrificing turnaround time, you're sacrificing quality, you're sacrificing, say, for instance, because we know this, say a printer, okay, printer has to lay off, say, 10 people, so they can hire 3 people at $20 an hour. Okay, well, 5 of those 10 people that they laid off were the overnight. They were the graveyard shift.
Right.
Well, now we can't run a grave. So now we
Which means
run.
you don't get your print job on time.
Yeah, exactly. 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., whatever,
Right.
but we don't have a graveyard shift anymore because we had to let this go because people are begging for a higher per hour rate. So you see how one affects the other, and you see that kind of trickle down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem with this, and that's the problem that you run into. And I mean, keeping on the printer industry, the print industry. So, but I can send out, I can get 300 stickers basically in 3 days from a foreign company on the internet.
Right.
But I can't go down to my local print shop and say, hey, I need 300 die cut stickers. I need them by next Monday. Well, it's probably going to be more like Wednesday or Thursday. Well,
Right.
shit, my event it's for my event. I can't get it done. So what am I going to do?
Right. And you're forced to use the other one online from China, India, wherever they're located. Yeah.
And now that money is out of our economy.
Yeah. And then they wonder why, people are losing their jobs. It's like, well, I can't afford because people can't use our business. So we can't keep our employees hired on because we have to lay them off or we close our doors. And it's a vicious circle.
It is a vicious circle.
Yeah, it's nuts. Let's move on.
And I say this in all sincerity, he's just not very serious about how he thinks about some of these issues.
Oh, he's not?
And one must be serious and have a plan, and a real plan that's not just about some talking point ending in an exclamation at a political rally, but actually putting the thought into what will be the return on the investment and what will be the economic impact on.
Because she's a business genius, right?
Well, that's the thing. So she's asked a question about tariffs, and all she does is go into a Trump bash. That's
Right.
all she's done so far.
Right.
What she hasn't told her plan on tariffs. Nothing so
Right.
far.
And see, that's the key with this whole interview from this MSNBC host, is that she hasn't asked any or answered any questions that she's asked specifically. It's all pie in the sky. It's all vague. It's all niceties. It's all, unicorns and fairy tales. And this is what she wants to do. Well, how are you going to accomplish it? Well, I have trust and faith in the American people. Wow.
That doesn't answer the question. That
That's
doesn't
awesome.
doesn't satisfy. If I were a Democratic voter right now, that doesn't satisfy me.
Right.
If this is what Trump was saying, word salad, eyes in the pies, and he trusts in the American people, I would be scared absolutely shitless right now.
Right.
Because if he's not telling me what he's going to do, it would make me think that he's got a totally different plan than he did when he was president before.
Yeah.
And that would scare the hell out of me.
Right. Well, and here's
at least tell me what you're going to do.
Yeah, we know gas was $2 a gallon, $2.50, whatever.
Exactly.
Prices on groceries and furniture and electronics and computers and all this shit was a hell of a lot less. We weren't we weren't paying more for all of our goods. And when the cost of fuel goes down, the cost of everything that is delivered by something that requires fuel to deliver it goes down. So I've seen what he's done, whether you like his mean tweets or moo-hoo-hoo, or he's mean and nasty or arrogant or this, doesn't matter. I had more money in my pocket. I could buy more things. I can live a little bit better. The Hispanic and Black populations had the lowest unemployment, and interest rates were 1-2%. I mean, it's just, I know what he's done, and she's just sitting there trying to bash, and she forgets that everything you're bashing is from the last 4 years that you've been in power, and you haven't done anything. Show me something. Do something. But you can't until you're elected president. Okay, gotcha. It's unbelievable.
And everyday people.
They just asked her what her trade plan was. She never answered, and then said Trump doesn't have one, and then never explained what her plan was. Trump's not serious about trade. He's deadly serious. He won a trade war with China, passed the new NAFTA deal, signed new trade deals with South Korea and Japan. He used tariffs to bring countries to the negotiating table. And we had a great economy with no inflation. I don't know if Kamala Harris knows this, but the Biden-Harris administration kept Trump's tariffs on China, then increased them. Kamala was then asked how she's going to help Americans buy homes they can't afford since inflation drove mortgage rates so high.
All right, before we talk about that real quick on the tariff thing, did you know that European automakers and whatnot, we don't put tariffs on their vehicles coming into our country, but did you know that they place tariffs on U.S. autos?
100% tariffs that they place on our autos going to them.
That's a $40,000 vehicle costing $80,000 in Europe.
Yep.
Respectively, with the euro trade exchange rate, blah, 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 whatever. You get the point.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people don't get. And but nothing on the BMWs and Audis and Mercedes. Bring them over. Yeah, let's just destroy our auto industry by allowing all that. But they make sure they put tariffs on our shit.
Well, that's the thing. Why would we keep free trade agreements? It's stupid.
Right. Yeah,
it's stupid. We're already paying for these wars that we're not even involved in, right?
It shouldn't be. Yeah,
billions of dollars, and then the UN wants us to play nice and work on some free trade agreements. No, I wholeheartedly disagree on anything free trade, because nobody's letting us free trade.
Right.
Nobody.
No, it's unfair.
Everybody
trade.
hates our goods.
Right.
Because they're quality and they cost money. So they don't want to buy them.
Right. Because it's all about the Benjis.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Here we go.
Some of the work is going to be through what we do in terms of giving benefits and assistance to state and local governments around transit dollars. and looking
What?
holistically at the connection between that and housing.
Holistic.
And looking holistically at the incentives we in the federal government can create for local and state
What
governments
does that mean?
to actually engage in planning in a holistic manner that includes prioritizing affordable housing.
3
I have
times.
no idea what she just said. I have no idea. But it
Are we
sounds
gonna-
like she's going to print more money and give it away.
Which
And
only
Kamala was
increases the
asked,
debt
how's she going to pay for all of these handouts?
and inflation.
Giving that extra money for a first home. If you can't raise corporate taxes, or if GOP takes control of the
She's going
Senate,
to do that.
where do you get the money to do that? Do you still go forward with those plans and borrow?
Well, but we're going to have to raise corporate taxes, and we're going to have to make sure that the biggest corporations and billionaires pay their fair share. That's just it.
You already are.
Oh my
They
God.
already are. Do you understand? Well, we'll get into this in a little bit, but
Yeah.
Not even the 1%, the 50%, that are $1 million and above, or what is it, or is it $100 million and above? They pay what was it, 47% of the taxes? But they pay their fair share.
It's I think he's if we look at it, we look the Patrick Bet David podcast has a good analysis. I think we're just going to go through his analysis of her actual tax plan and what rates get increased and how much that adds to the quote unquote income coming into the government by increasing corporate tax rates, like she just mentioned, and things like that. But I think he talked about the top, I think it's the bottom 50% pay like 11% of the total taxes. The top 50% pay the other. Out of that top 50%, I think it's the top 5% or the top 1% pay like 97%.
Yeah.
And then like the bottom 50% of the 50% bottom pay like a total of 2% ish, give or take a couple tenths of a percent.
Well, and that just goes to show, and and we can we'll break out that down a little bit later, but that just goes to show when she's talking about this, the shitty thing is so this is going to trickle down to small business, and that's what's scary,
Right?
And that's going to put small business out of business,
right? Well, and not only that, but when you raise the tax rates and you raise the cost of doing business for these companies, who pays for that? The consumer. We all do.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
Yeah, you think they're going to lose money?
That's the same thing. It goes back to that whole thing. So they're going to have to do layoffs so they can afford to stay in business, and they're going to have to raise prices on their products.
Right.
And so the consumer is going to be direct hit with that.
Yeah.
And then what does that mean? Cost of living goes up. So whether that be you're consuming water, whether you're consuming groceries, whether you're consuming clothes, whether you're consuming gas, that means we're all going to get hit with it again. And that's going to raise inflation even more.
Right. But people don't get that. And somebody who doesn't run a business, never has run a business, is not really part of the people because she's never, ever been in the private sector, never had a business, never had employees or anything like that. She doesn't get it.
Right.
Here's an idea. Stop spending. Why don't we cut some shit? Why is it we always have to cut what we do when income goes down or when prices go up and we can't afford it? Guess what? We don't get to continue to go out to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse and have a steak dinner.
Right.
We go to Sizzler
and we don't
if we're lucky.
Yeah. And why do we have to pay for it?
Right.
Why does it always ends up on the middle class shoulders to pay for it?
And that's Democrats and Republicans. You guys need to understand that. We all lose out because the government will not do without.
No.
They take our taxes, they steal them out of our bank accounts, and they take our taxes and they keep adding more programs. They keep adding more spending. They spend more, they spend more, they spend more. Meanwhile, we're all cinching up and tightening up our belts and we're, pinching and saving and not not buying a new TV or a new couch or a new car or a new whatever.
Or a new
I'll
home.
just keep mine for a while because that's all I could do. But the
Or
government,
instead
no,
of filling our tanks up to full, we're filling them up to half to try to
Yeah.
get through the week. Like, come on.
yeah. When
know?
does the government ever do without when things are tough? Like right now.
Right now.
Why do we continue to spend? Why can we not cut 5% across the board on every single program we're funding right now, including the military budget, the defense,
Well, and
everything, and all these
yeah,
bullshit programs that we're spending money on?
yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, the amount of spending, and the thing is too, is we're not even giving the go ahead on on probably 99.9% of that spending.
Yeah, right.
We're not saying, yeah, that's okay. Yeah. $60,000 for a hammer. Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Is that
For a government hammer? No. That's horse shit.
Exactly. Unbelievable. All right, let's continue on and see what else pops up in here.
It's about paying their fair share.
And how do you find that line to make sure corporations are paying their fair share, but they're not leaving our country?
Well, listen, I work with a lot of CEOs. I have spent a lot of time with CEOs, and I'm going to tell you that
CEOs?
the business leaders who are actually part of the engine of America's economy agree that people should pay their fair share.
Again, she didn't answer the question. Even if she raises taxes on everybody, it still won't pay for the trillions she wants to spend. Obama already raised taxes, and the middle class got hammered. Obama raised taxes, and corporations left the country and took their factories with them. That's how Trump got elected. How is she going to stop companies from leaving? Because she knows a bunch of CEOs? Their lobbyists are just going to write loopholes in the bill that she signs. After the interview, Stephanie Ruhle called Harris a dodger.
Here's what's a little tricky. She doesn't answer the question around if the GOP is controlling the Senate, if she can't raise corporate taxes, where is she going to get the money from?
And the interview was just as staged as all of her answers. There's a sander with no sawdust in the back and a ladder in the middle of nowhere. What's
I
that
didn't even
doing there?
notice
No
that.
idea.
Yeah, I know. I didn't
That's
tell you
gotta
about
be
it. That
Trump
one.
in North Carolina
That's gotta be
zeroing
green
in
screen
on
as shit.
American working men and women. He's
You're
been
not gonna
much
put a sander
disciplined
in.
the last week and a
I mean, I again, I didn't even notice. And you think any of that was planned? Oh, you damn right. Bet your ass that was well planned. Make her look like she's a woman of the people. You know, and you know what? And that's fine. I don't care. Set it up any way you want to. Good for you. But when you don't have the answers, simple answers that you should know that you can give the people as a reason why you are the one that they should vote for, then there's something wrong.
Yeah. I mean, she nailed it on the head. And I'm glad that she came out and said that because, I mean, it needs to be said, and it needs to be said by these kind of people. She's not answering questions.
No.
She's dancing around because she can't answer the questions. And
Right.
and I don't think it's because that she doesn't know the answers. I think it's because she doesn't want to scare the people that are planning on voting for her with her answers.
Right.
I mean, I everybody's like, well, I mean, she has nothing. She's dumb as a box of rocks. She's this, she's that. I don't think she's that dumb.
No.
The problem is whoever is fueling, her back end, or pulling these strings, they're telling her, no, you can't answer these questions because you'll tank the election. You will not get voted in because her answers are going to be so scary to that party that they're going to run as far away from her as they can get.
And you know what's sad is that this tactic might be working, hiding her in the basement.
That is sad. Sad.
Yeah, not letting her get out there to answer questions. And when she finally does, she does this vague pie in the sky, oh, wonderful unicorns, rainbows, and fairy tales, and doesn't really answer it. And everybody who likes her wants to vote for her because she's the first Black woman. Was like, come on, you guys, you've got to have a better reason to vote for her than that. Seriously.
And then
Come
half of those people are just voting for her because it's not Trump,
Right.
you know?
And that's another
The
sad
Trump,
thing. It's like,
no
Yeah.
basis Trump haters are going to vote for her
Yeah.
just because they hate Trump.
right. I would like to hear some substance in what she has to say. And when you kind of really do whittle it down, like you're saying, because she doesn't want to let it out, which is what we're going to let out here in the, get the cat out of the bag here in a minute, is kind of a breakdown of this stuff. And don't be fooled by the fact that they keep using this. Oh, it's only the ultra wealthy $100 million plus, value of their wealth portfolios or whatever. It all trickles down to everybody. And if you start taxing things like unrealized gains that's just sitting there, like you invest, okay, $100,000. Now that company's worth $200,000. You're going to get taxed on that $100,000, even though you haven't cashed it out. It's just sitting there and you're letting it just build.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's,
how are you gonna pay for unrealized $100,000 difference and add another 3 zeros on it, 100 million? How are you going to pay taxes on 100 million that you haven't that's just sitting there, you haven't even utilized or taxed? Well, they're using it to leverage loans and different. So what?
they have the right.
Yeah. That's been going on from time and eternity.
Or they're turning it around and putting it back in their business.
Exactly.
Or they're turning around and putting it back into the market because
Right.
that percentage controls the market. You know what I mean? That top 5% of earners, they control the market.
Yeah.
And if you don't know that, then well, now you do. But they control the market, so they're going to put it back into the market somehow. They're going to put it in with goods. They're going to put it in with something.
Right. Well, and I agree, and I think people need to realize that that this all will come back if a company or individual or somebody like that, like a Bezos or Gates or somebody, is getting taxed on all that. First of all, they're not going to let that happen because it's like, well, I don't want to get taxed on unrealized gains in my portfolio and my investment. You're going to see investments go way the hell down. And you think as a startup and you're relying on a VC to fund your new venture, your new business or something like that, that they're going to be able to do that going, well, you know what? I can't put in $1 million into your company and then have it be worth X amount, $2, $3, $5 million, let's say, and you haven't cashed that out. You're just letting it sit there because you want it to continue to grow or whatever. But I got to pay taxes on that at the end of the year, and nobody's even cashed out.
It's not even at the end of the year.
I got to pay taxes million
quarter.
Yeah. It's absolutely asinine, and I don't think that will happen. I think it's a lot of her just spouting out stuff to make it sound good, stick it to the rich, make them pay their fair share, that whole diatribe that they talk about. There's more to it than that, people. You have to understand, if a company has to pay more money for something or has to come up with taxes, guess what? They're going to lay off people, or they're going to increase the price of their goods and services, or something. They're going to do something to make up for it because they're not going to take it in the shorts only.
Exactly. They're not going to. Yeah. You can't say it any better than that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And a half, more upbeat and more focused on the future.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result
Hey,
Hunter.
JT, how you doing, buddy? I'm gonna cut this out.
Search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it
Bring that
does.
up.
First of
Bring
all, big
bring
tech
that
right now is run by.
What's that?
The
Bring
centerpiece
that
of
back
my
on the
plan.
screen.
Oh, yep. Thank you.
Swap the view.
Yeah, let me go back just a hair. I'll edit all that shit out. Okay. Actually, let me jump back. I'll record, jump back, and then we'll go.
More upbeat and more focused on the future.
The centerpiece of my plan for a manufacturing renaissance will be a 15% made in America tax rate. I'm imposing tariffs on your competition from foreign countries that have ripped us off, which stole all of your businesses and all of your jobs years ago and took your businesses out, so that now they won't be able to compete with North Carolina.
Everything he says there, you guys have to understand that helps whether you are a Democrat voter or a Republican voter or an independent voter. If you are a company or a corporation, everything he's talking about is going to help you, and everybody, and keep costs down for everybody. It is not a it's not a partisan thing, excuse me. It is something that's going to help everybody.
Mhm.
You know, and that's the thing people need to understand too. It's like this helps everybody. He's not dividing this out. It's only MAGA people that he's helping. It's everybody's going to be helped out in this. It's just, yeah.
All of your furniture makers are going to come back bigger and stronger and better than ever before. This
proven
is
it before.
why
Mhm.
people in countries want to kill me. They're not happy with me.
They're not
It's
happy
a
with me.
risky business.
That's the kind of swagger and attitude from 2016. Remember, fight for the little guy, America First trade policy that puts money in your pocket and doesn't give foreigners a free ride. The Europeans have a 25% tariff on American whiskey. They have a 10% tariff on American cars.
There you go.
Meanwhile, America lets all the European wine and cars come in here duty free, while our Navy protects their shipping and our nukes protect their safety. The Europeans don't spend any money on their militaries, so they spend it on lavish social safety nets.
They expect us
because we pay to protect them. Your tax dollars. We had this arrangement after World War II because their economies were devastated, so we opened up our market to help them recover, and in exchange created this network of alliances against Soviet communism.
See, all of these things he's mentioning are things that people don't realize that we do.
Yeah, and they don't realize that we've done, and this is all out of us extending our hand, you know,
Right.
to help other
Everybody's
countries' economies. Yeah,
except for the economies. Well, you know, whatever. But yeah, and that's the thing. All of this is stuff that people forget that we do. Oh, Europeans, this, that, and the other. Well, the Europeans can do lots of things differently because they're not spending their money on their military. You know, their manufacturing of their autos, their furniture, IKEAs, whatever, all that shit, you know, is beneficial for the Europeans. And anything we import there or export to there and they import is taxed. So it's like, well, we can pay more for the American goods or we can just buy our own. And it's amazing. I hope people are seeing this and understanding kind of what's going on. This is what's happening.
But the Cold War is over. And this isn't fair to the American taxpayer or the American worker.
To the workers of this state, when you hear Kamala Harris attack my tariffs today, you wouldn't have anything left in this state if I didn't do what I did. This building would be now shuttered, closed, empty, no jobs, and now it's thriving. Just remember, Kamala's not attacking me. She's attacking your furniture job. She's attacking your community. She's attacking your factories.
Yep.
And she's trying to send all of those jobs to China with everything else.
China.
And we're not going to let that happen.
Kamala Harris is still pushing globalization after it gutted our jobs and factories. So what is exactly the vice president's economic agenda? Massive welfare checks to buy starter homes? It's only going to trigger more inflation and drive home prices higher.
Exactly.
She wants to build more homes, but she spent $7 trillion and she only was able to build 7 car chargers. I'm going to go with the guy who builds for a living. She wants to tax unrealized.
I don't think it was 7 trillion. I think it was 7.5 billion and got like 7 or 8 charging stations done.
right.
It's like $1 billion per charging station. They were supposed to have 500 or 600 of those across the country. The EV thing is a scam, and we will get into that in another episode. Trust me.
Yeah, the EV thing is beyond me.
Yeah, it is a scam. It's a great idea, and after a while, sure, it does work out better after probably 100,000, 150,000 miles you've driven in that vehicle at that point. But to manufacture everything and all, it's a scam at this point because they don't have the technology yet.
Yeah, maintaining that industry outweighs what the American people are going to be saving on that product 1,000%.
And to
It's
mine,
insane.
to mine all
The
those
mining alone
minerals,
is ridiculous.
yeah, the cobalt, the lithium, other rare earth minerals and metals and things like that that are out there, and the demand is going up, and it's just going to get worse when you do this. It's like, stop mandating this shit. It's great to have an option. I love it. I would love to get an EV if the things worked well. Would love it.
Yeah, I can't see how they can mandate it. That's
But don't take away
ridiculous.
Yeah, the combustion engine at this point, because you're going to have to generate all this electricity on top of this. I know we're tangenting off here, but you have to run a electric plant with coal, fossil fuels, other things to create and produce the electricity. And when you have a demand that's going way up, places like California, who can't even keep their grid system working right
They
now,
got rolling blackouts as it is.
Yeah. What I mean, and then you have somebody like Gavin Newsom telling you that you can't use electricity or charge your vehicles between whatever time and whatever time. Like, I'm sorry, Gavi. Are we a third world country, or do we have the technology and the ability to be able to do all this? Oh, that's right. We kind of don't, because you put your assets into other things that don't generate, like the green energy. I would love wind, solar, hydro, nuclear, everything, but it has to work together in conjunction with each other, not eliminate the one main source, the coal, the fossil fuel powered generating plants.
Well, you're still going to have to do that, because you're going to have to fuel and power the vehicles that it takes to mine, the mining vehicles.
Right.
I mean, it's so stupid. You can't eliminate it completely, because you think you're gonna have an electric dump truck? No, that shit ain't gonna happen.
Electric bulldozer, electric dump truck, those big huge ass wheels that are like 12 feet tall, literally. No,
it's not gonna happen.
She doesn't get it, and it's all pie in the sky stuff. She's trying to fool people into believing that she's sticking it to the rich, that she's gonna put all this in place and it's gonna make things better. But the thing is, you talk to any economist and they'll sit there and they'll just say, oh my God, the unintended consequences of this are going to be horrific for our economy and really could put us into a depression. We're already almost at 36 trillion. Now I'm going to blame Trump as well. Okay.
Yeah. He
added $7 or $8 trillion to the debt once he got out of office, once he was in, got out. Well, Biden has also done about that, maybe a little bit more. And now she wants to add another 4, 5, 6 trillion on top of what's already going to increase anyway. And the interest on $36 trillion is more than the defense budget, which is almost $1 trillion now, 800, 900 billion.
God damn.
We'll never get that paid off.
Yeah, that's a debt that's never going to be completely paid off. And the thing is, too, is we could start digging into that a little bit if we cut our fucking spending, and if we'd stop funding wars that we're not even involved in.
Yes,
come on, man.
You got to stop spending. You can't if your paycheck is $5,000 a month, okay, and then it gets cut to $4,000 a month. Do you keep spending money like you're still making $5,000 or $6,000 a month or $7,000 a month? Why is our government allowed to do this?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just going to borrow. Yeah, borrow against our kids, grandkids, and great grandkids.
Borrow against our Social Security.
Borrow against everything. What's the point after a while? Our money will be nothing. It already almost is. I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. Our money technically is worth nothing. It's only worth it because you say it's worth it. Oh, here's a $10 bill. Okay, that's worth $10. But if you say, oh, you give me a $10 bill, I say, well, that's really only worth a couple bucks.
Yeah.
Then it's only worth a couple bucks. Right?
Well, and that's what scares me about them wanting to go to the digital dollar. I mean, not only, the control that they're going to have over the American people that's one thing. That's a whole different
tracking and surveillance. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But you go to the digital dollar, then our paper dollar is going to mean nothing.
Right.
And and the average American is going to I can't even imagine the amount of suffering that the average American would go through with turning to the digital dollar. That would it would shut down businesses. It would mortgages would be lost. I can't. Yeah, it'd be absolutely insane.
Well, you've ever been to the airport and you go to the Sky Cap, and he handles your bags and checks you in from the curb, so you don't have to wait in the line to check it in at the counter. And you give him, $3 or $4, $2 or $3 or $4 per bag that you give him or whatever, and you give him cash. What if you had to only do like Venmo and you have to sit there? What's your Venmo? Da, 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 here, scan it. Blah, blah, and that takes more time than if you just handed him some cash out of your wallet. I mean, it's ridiculous. They try to say that the digital dollar is going to make things more convenient and faster and all that shit. Well, for some things, maybe, but you're also going to be tracked on everything that you do, everything you spend, every tip that you give somebody is going to be tracked. The government doesn't need to know every freaking thing that I'm doing or spending.
Yeah, and then because they start to form opinions on it, and then that's where the leash tightens around our throats, and then that's when we become their property,
right?
Because we owe them, and then what?
Your behavior is going to dictate your insurance rates, or your behavior is going to dictate your ability to get some credit at a furniture store or a credit card loan. It's like, well, this guy does this, and this we don't like, and who is we, and who are you to say what I'm doing is good or bad or not?
It's going to dictate what you can buy at the grocery store,
right?
It's going to dictate.
You've been buying too many chips and cookies and shit. Now your rates for your medical insurance is going to go up. I mean, it's just, do people not see the potential of this? Oh, they would never do that. Okay, sure. Yeah. Okay. Keep believing that.
Well,
Unreal.
if Cammy gets in there, then that's exactly what's going to happen, or the beginnings of that, for the 4 years that she's in. And that's terrifying in itself.
Oh yeah. Let's continue on a little bit more, and then we'll move on to her tax plan so people can kind of see what's happening and see the breakdown of this and realize this is all and it's mostly the Democrats. There are some Republicans that also agree with raising our taxes as well, and they should be kicked out of office as well, as far as I'm concerned. That's all they want to do is raise our taxes to pay for more shit when they should be cutting spending like we all do. When times are tough, it's unreal.
As gains, that idea was laughed out of the room. She wants price controls, again, laughed out of the room. The rest is your typical tax and spend, San Francisco socialist garbage that doesn't work, never has.
And never will.
After 5 days off, Kamala delivered, as they build it, a big economic speech today. And primetime producers watched it, so I didn't have to. And they told me she didn't say anything. She didn't say anything new. Nothing, no new policy, nothing. And the New York Times agreed with Jesse Watters' primetime, saying she revealed little new about her economic pitch. She just came with the same empty slogans.
I call my vision the opportunity economy.
What I imagine and believe and call an opportunity economy.
Developing and creating an opportunity economy. I intend to create an opportunity economy.
Why do we need an opportunity economy if Bidenomics is working? Shouldn't we already have opportunity? Shouldn't she just be running on let's keep going? Well, she is, but she can't say that because everybody knows where we're going is in the wrong direction. Kamala isn't saying how she's going to help. She's just saying she grew up just like you.
I grew up in a middle-class family.
I grew up a middle-class kid.
I grew up a middle-class kid. I was raised as a middle-class kid.
But how middle class is she? Kamala was raised in Berkeley, California, by parents with PhDs, one of the nicer neighborhoods in San Francisco. She spent her weekends in Palo Alto, went to private schools, lived in a nice little neighborhood in Montreal, took trips to Jamaica, and then once claimed she worked at McDonald's without any evidence.
Do you like minting money? Well, the wealthy investors.
What happened? Oh. Wait. Cut. I have no volume. I can't hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Sorry, I had it on mute because I was sniffling.
Oh.
All right, let me go back if I can. Well, let's see, what was I saying? Okay, I'll just say I'll cut the video from there and then we'll move on. Anyway, we'll just cut the video from there because it goes on, but I think you kind of get the idea, and I want to get into her tax plan that the Patrick David podcast talks about, so you can kind of see what's going on there, because a lot of people don't really get what's going on or what she wants to do. So let me bring that up. He'll kind of go through it. He does talk about a few things that are relevant to the $100 million price point that they're talking about. And then a lot of people are saying, well, it's only going to get to the ultra rich. It's like, no. It all trickles down. We've talked about this before. People need to understand what's going on. So let's get into this, because this takes a couple minutes, but it really gives you an idea of what she wants to do, which really is take more money out of your pocket. Because if you take more money out of a corporation's pocket, they're just going to charge you more for whatever it is you're going to buy from them. And so we all get hit, Democrat, Republican, independent alike. So here he talks about this.
Let's see how much money Kamala and them are going to be getting. So if you look at their chart, okay, this is again from taxfoundation.org to look at. Here's what you'll come up with. I want to go through all of them, and then I'm going to show you what the total number is at the end. So one by one. This is just for individual revenue raisers for taxes to the government. Raise top tax rate on individuals to 39.6. If you go all the way to the right, you'll see from 2025 to 2034, that's going to generate them an additional $170 billion in 10 years. Next one, tax unrealized capital gains at death over $5 million. Impose a 28% tax rate on capital gains over $1 million. Another $171 billion. Expand a net investment tax base to active pass-through income. Another $257 billion to the government. Raise the net investment tax income from 3.8 to 5%.
Now, these numbers are over 10 years. So when it's 125 billion, obviously it's 12.5 billion every year that they are projecting that if this were to happen, this is what they could potentially make. So people need to understand that, this is all, gosh, if we charge, a percent more or a couple percent more on the tax rates on somebody, we're going to make this much more. Well, what they don't remember and don't realize, or they do realize and they're just trying to sell this bullshit, is that when you start raising the price on things and charging corporations for things and all of that, they're going to raise their prices and fewer people are going to buy their goods, and you really are going to actually lose out and make less money through taxes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I mean, right now, people can't afford their Medicare premiums as it is. And case in point, my father had a recent procedure done at the dentist, and using Medicare,
right,
it was going to be one price. Without using Medicare, it was
a whole lot less, probably
$1,500 less without Medicare. Do you believe that? And he's got to pay a percentage of that. But if he used the Medicare, but at the same time, that's what it's coming to.
Yeah,
that is what we, the normal American, making under six figures or barely six figures, that's what we're looking at.
Right.
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. And he does talk about that next. The Medicare tax they want to raise from basically 1% to 2%. That's a 1% increase. Well, that's not very much. It is when you start adding up everything else with it and all the other stuff he's going down this list. And then that's on top. That's in addition to what you're already paying today.
Yeah.
That's more than you're already paying today. And they think that they're just, we'll raise all. what's their ultimate goal? This is a question I want to ask. How much is enough for them? How much money can the government take out of our paychecks to fund all of these bullshit programs? And there's a lot of waste. I would gather,
Oh my God.
I think I saw numbers years ago, 25 years ago, where it was something like there was a gentleman running for office, and he was talking about this, and he's talking about how something to the effect of 50% of the taxes brought in are wasted on bullshit. In other words, they can run every single program they have today with half the money they're bringing in.
Yeah.
That is how much money they are wasting, or it's going into pockets of the politicians or something. But if we cut everything in half, can you imagine the growth of the economy?
Oh my
If
gosh.
our taxes were cut in half.
Well, and that's the thing. Like they want to stimulating the economy and fixing the economy is not by giving people
handout of $25,000
yes,
for a down payment on a house.
Exactly.
It's going to cost you $25,000 to $50,000 more because you have that freebie already given to you.
Yeah, you're going to have to pay for it in the back end. But the thing is, it's not giving people free money. That's not how you do it. It's cutting the spending and cutting the taxes so we can actually run our businesses, because that's going to put more money in our pocket to run our business. And then we'll be able to stabilize what we're charging for our products.
Right.
And then people will be able to afford that again. And that goes with our industry. That goes with the grocery industry. That goes with the fuel industry. That goes with everybody.
Construction, everything.
Construction, yeah. Home builders. I mean, that's a fucking huge one.
The cost of a house is outrageous for the materials alone, let alone the labor. I mean, why do you think we have houses that used to cost us $100,000-$200,000 that are now $700,000, $800,000?
Yeah.
In many cases, over $1 million. And you're like, what? In this neighborhood? Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Materials and cost of labor have gone out absolutely bonkers.
So he's only listed like 5 or 6 right now. He's got a lot more to go. This is what I'm talking about. It's not just a 1% increase in Medicaid and Medicare or whatever. You start adding up everything that's down this list. There's like 40 items or some shit. It's just unreal. Check this out.
Another $125 billion. Raise the additional Medicare tax from 0.9 to 2.1. Oh, middle income's not going to pay for it. Who the hell pays that Medicare tax? Only people making over $400,000? Everybody does.
Right.
That's another $258 billion. Make permanent the limit on excess business losses for pass-through firms. Another $20 billion. Next one, 1031 exchange, $500,000 in gain, $20 billion. Tax cured.
People, do you know what a 1031 exchange is?
I do not know.
It is the it's the exchange thing that you do when you sell your house. You have to buy another house within 2 years, or you do it. You do this 1031 exchange so that you're not taxed at the wazoo when you purchase new property
on that gain. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Or something that I'm trying to remember exactly, but that is what happens. So if you are a homeowner that rents out and you have rental properties and you sell that rental property, you have to do this 1031 exchange, and they're trying to limit that to $500,000 in gain. They're basically trying to cut the amount of money you can make on the profit of the sale of that house.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure I missed it in a sense, but basically that is what is happening with that. And so you're killing investment in property. So who's the only one that could do that? BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, all these big, huge investment companies that
they're the only ones that can afford it.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to own a home or own rental property with shit like this.
Yeah.
Only the big ass corporations like the fucking BlackRocks out there. Are you kidding me? Wake up. We can't allow this to happen, or else nobody, you, me, anybody else will not be able to buy a second house, not be able to make a income on rental property, passive income, or anything like that, because we're going to be taxed up the wazoo. if we decide to upgrade or sell or buy another. I mean, it's absolutely insane. You're killing
Well, that's the
investment.
that is, and it's the shitty thing because that raises because it's that they're only going to start raising rental prices. I mean, right now
That's insane.
you
yeah.
can't rent like in our city alone. You can't rent a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom condo or apartment for less than probably $2,200 a month is what I've seen on the average,
which is insane.
But if you have somebody like me, a private owner of maybe 2 or 3 investment properties, which I don't have, but I'm talking about the average person. They have 2 or 3 rental properties. They can start to bring those prices down if they're not greedy,
right?
Because they don't need so those houses are say paid off or halfway paid off when they start renting them out. Well, they don't need, and they're refinance as much as they can do to keep that lower payment down, so they can make a little bit money on their, their monthly rate that they cost. But they can keep those down and they can keep those manageable for average people.
Right.
And then that will start to bring everything else down because the people are going to start following those trends. But if shit like this happens and they're taxed to high hell, then there's no way that they can do that. They either have to sell them, pay taxes on their gains, or just take it in the rear and be upside down.
So why are they
you don't invest in rental properties or investments to be upside down? You don't do it.
So why would they do that to us? You have to think. People need to think. Why would they make it more difficult for the average everyday person like you and me to invest in rental property or to buy other houses and second or third homes and things like that? Why would they do that?
It's to take the wealth out of our hands and keep it in their hands. That's the only reason.
So
that's the only reason I can think of. Maybe
big
I'm a simple man.
corporations, like the BlackRocks, Vanguard, State Streets, and all those other, Fidelities. All these guys are the only ones that own the property. So you'll never remember World Economic Forum. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, when you own nothing, there's no way to stay in that house if they decide that, you know what, I'm sick and tired of you being in my house. Get out. Oh, you don't own that car. Well, guess what? I'm going to repossess that car because one thing or the other. If you don't own anything, you have nothing. You won't be happy. Trust me. That's a line full of bullshit right there. Thanks, World Economic Forum, you assholes.
And that's what keeps them the teat that we have to suckle on, and that's the sad part. And that's where they keep control and keep mind control and keep money control over the average citizen.
Yeah. It's absolute insanity. Let's continue on because there's a hell of a lot more, Rube.
Interest as ordinary income, $6.7 billion. Create new limitations on high-income taxpayers with large retirement account balances and increasing minimum required distribution and miscellaneous tax increases on savings, another $63 billion. Tighten estate and gift tax rules, another $94 billion. Miscellaneous tax increases on pass-through reforms, another $2.1 billion for a total of what? Roughly $1.2 trillion just on individual revenue. That's you, okay? That's $1.2 trillion over 10 years. But let's continue. Here's corporate revenue raisers. Corporate taxes, let's raise it to 28. $882 billion over 10 years goes from companies to the U.S. government. Next, raise corporate.
And do you think all the corporations are going to take that in the ass?
No,
you're going to pay for it.
We're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
So their goods. So whatever they're going to raise this tax to 28%, your goods that you buy from these corporations are going to raise probably 30%.
Yeah.
So they can cover their 28 and then still and still profit.
Yeah. Check out this next one.
Corporate alternative minimum tax from 15 to 21, $346 billion. 21, GILTI minimum tax rate and other GILTI changes, another 200.
Okay. You know what GILTI is?
No, what's that?
Okay, I looked it up because I wanted to know. It's one of the global taxes. So basically, if you're earning income not in America, they want to tax you. So if you make money overseas, or you have a corporation that's an overseas corporation, They want to tax that. They want to get every little bit of money out of you for every little thing. This is the greediest program I have ever seen, beyond the ultimate greedy programs that have been here and in our tax system forever. And this just makes it that much worse. They want to squeeze blood from a stone from everybody, from everywhere they can. They want to, what is their ultimate goal? Is that to keep us on the teat of the government, where they dictate what you can have and what you can't have, and how much you can make and how much you can't?
I think they're eliminating the competition.
Right.
Really?
Yeah.
They're eliminating the competition.
The government wants to run everything.
Yes.
And be the sole proprietor
the
of
top
everything.
corporation of America is our government.
And
I 1000% believe that it's their way of eliminating the competition, because if you have money, you have power, right?
Right.
And if the average business owner starts making too much money, they're going to start gaining power,
because in their eyes, you're making too much money. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
And but these corporations still be, this will be Microsoft, this will be Apple, this will be, yeah, and they'll be owned by the government.
Yeah.
You want to do business and stay in business, then you have to play under our rules, or we will tax the shit out of you to death and you will go out of business.
Well, look what Zucks did. I mean, they were able to fear him. They were able to put enough fear into him to where he hid, shit about COVID. You know what I mean? They want to be able to control you. And if they're going to control you, guess what? I'm sure Zucks gets some tax breaks, or I'm sure Zucks got something behind closed doors for doing that, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what you're going to create, right? You're just going to create another bootleg industry.
Exactly.
You're going to create an underground economy. You're going to create criminals out of ordinary, regular, honest citizens. Because if you had the ability and you were in a multi-million or multi-billion dollar corporation, company, or whatever, and you didn't want to get hit with all these taxes, you would do anything and everything you could to shelter that money, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're going to make all these laws saying, well, now it's illegal to try to shelter your income and your money that you make out of this corporation. Well, now you're a criminal for trying to keep the money from the government. Isn't it interesting?
Didn't we see this one time before? Like way back when 6 foot tall gentleman revolted against, a tyrannical government. Didn't we see that?
I believe we did.
I think his last name was Washington, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be.
Remember, we fought a revolution over basically the straw that broke the camel's back, the fucking tea tax.
Was it a 2% raise tax raise on tea?
We fought a revolution over a tax on tea. Now, granted, that was again the straw, but it's basically what happened in a nutshell.
Well, that's what happens when you stop working for the people.
Yeah.
When you think you are more powerful than the people that put you in place.
Yeah. And that you are, you think you're better than, you don't think they can do what they want. We have allowed taxes and taxation, double, triple, quadruple, quintuple taxations. If you think about it, you have an income tax, you have a sales tax, you have a property tax, you have a utility tax, you have everything and anything and everything they could possibly tax. You're getting taxed on.
Yeah, you're getting taxed on. But you're getting taxed on that same dollar over and over and over and over again.
That's what I mean.
Which is why we're so fed up with this shit. But the problem is they have the mentality of being the lion tamer, right?
Right.
You can smack the lion as much as you want, and you can get the lion to do as many tricks as you want. But one day that lion's going to get fed up, and this is why. And I think
that Roy.
Well, see, and this is why I think that they want to go in there and limit They want to see what you're doing with your guns. They want to come in your home and see what kind of ammo you got and see what kind of munitions you got, because
they want to know what they're up against.
Exactly. Because they know the path that they're going down is going to lead to a revolution.
Yep.
A revolt in one way or another. And that lion is going to rear its teeth and start biting people on the ass.
You remember when Joseph Robinette Biden Jr. Esquire Limited III told us that you think that your guns are going to keep the government out when we have F-15s and nukes? Wow.
Yeah.
You just said you will fire upon the American citizenry with weapons of war from F-15s, shot down rockets and bombs shot down from F-15s, and you would drop a nuke? Okay.
On your own country?
You didn't technically, literally mean that. Okay, fine. He didn't literally mean, but what do you think he meant?
You don't think that asshole would press a button if he felt threat from his from the citizens? I think he would in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah.
He's that kind of guy. He has that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
You
don't think she doesn't either?
Yeah. I think he was one of those kids that was bullied at a young age, whether it's from his brothers or his schoolmates. He has that I've been bullied mentality. He has that victim of bully mentality. And I think he'd do it in a heartbeat.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
$78 billion. Repeal FDII. You got $92 billion. Section 265, $187 billion. 4% excise tax on stock buybacks, $79 billion. Modifications to 162, limit on deductions of excessive employee remuneration. That's another $265 billion. Miscellaneous corporate tax increase, $34 billion, for a total corporate revenue of how much? Another $2.1 trillion. So far, we're at 3.4 trillion. Now, here's other revenue raisers, right? Impose a 25% minimum tax on unrealized gains for, boom, this is the one with $100 million. Look how much it raises. $516 billion. You know what they fear? A guy like Elon Musk becoming too wealthy and buying companies like X, buying companies like, whatever other things he's going to buy. They don't want that kind of control. They want the government to have that control, right? Levy on under-taxed profits, rule on large, $225 billion. Changes on tax compliance and administration, another $24 billion. What's the total here? $766 billion.
Jesus.
You know what the total number is? $4.1 trillion over the next 10 years.
Okay, look at that. Let me go back just a hair right before that zipped off the screen.
Hang on, real quick. Hang on. We got to cut. I have to piss.
Okay.
So we'll have to cut that there. I'm sorry. I'm about to piss. Hold on.
I'll see if I can pause this. Okay. So if you notice below here, it's the tax cuts. Tax cuts. Isn't that great? Exempt tip income from federal income tax. $118 billion that they would not get in their coffers. I bet that kills them.
Yeah.
I bet that so we should not tax tips because Trump said it and then Kamala said it. And because Kamala said it, now they're going to try to implement that and make it because she's for the people, And 118, that's 11 point, that's almost 12 billion a year for 10 years that they're not going to get in revenue. And then expand the Section 195 startup expense deduction. Oh, so we do a business startup and we're supposed to get a deduction, and that's going to take out 24.5 billion or 2.45 billion a year. But these the tip thing is probably killing them. Anyway. It's just interesting. Let's have him finish off here real quick, and then we'll move on because we want to get this done so everybody can move on with their day.
Over the next 10 years. You know what the question I have for you is? That $4.1 trillion over the next 10 years. Who do you trust to do more with that money? The U.S. government or free market, people that are job creators, entrepreneurs. Who do you think will do more with that? The U.S. government, when they decide, let's send $200 billion, $100 billion to Zelensky, Ukraine. You may disagree. You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. You can't be like, I don't like that. They take certain money and they waste it. We're going to put all these battery plants, we're going to invest $500 million. They got 7-8 locations in the span of how many years? They waste all the money. But it's like $500 million. Oh, you know what we're going to do? We're going to be able to take money back because it's not quantitative tightening is what we're going to do. So we're going to buy back $200 billion every month. How are you going to do? We can just do that. Who cares? We can just do that. So if you can manipulate in those areas, why are you trying to take $4.1 trillion away from our hands to the government? Do you really think that's good for you and your family? You really believe that? You think that's good for the economy? You think that's good for your 401k? You think that's good for your retirement plan, pension plan? You think that that's what they're trying to do with this plan? $21 billion. By the way, if you want the Kamala tax plan, just text us the word taxes to 310-340-1132. We'll send you the link. Again,
it's on the screen there for a second. You can do that. I do want to text that and get that from him because I think it's very interesting. But there you go. I mean, holy shit. Do you realize that this is on top of what we're already paying?
Yeah, like you said, you slipped in there and you said more. Yeah, this is more. We're already paying a lot of this.
I think what did they bring in? $4 to $5 trillion a year or some shit like that. No, how much do they bring in taxes every year from the American people?
I don't know what the exact number is, but it's pretty damn close. I mean, it's over $1 trillion.
Yeah, something like that. And their spending is $4 trillion or something. And you add this in there, they think that you cannot tax your people to death and tax your way out of this to be prosperous. You can't tax your way into prosperity. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work like that.
And they don't care. I don't think it is that they don't know. I think they absolutely know.
I think so too.
And I think they're trying to destroy. And if you're a Republican as well, and you are voting for increasing your taxes on people, you should be voted out of office, as well as any Democrat who wants to vote for this. Now he's retiring. And it's kind of disappointing because he's one of the few Democrats that I don't agree with everything he says, but he has said enough lately is Joe Manchin, where he doesn't agree. He's like, well, wait a minute. This is going to destroy the economy, or this is going to destroy this, that, and the other. And he's said that a few times. And I'm like, what happened to the Democrat Party with people like him? I don't agree with him, but he has common sense. He's a lot more for the people, it seems like.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's not many left that are actually for the people. Well,
both sides of the aisle. I'll admit.
Both bunch of them say they are.
Yeah,
but their voting would suggest otherwise.
Right.
And that's the sad thing. And you're right. On both sides of the aisle, there's it's becoming fewer and fewer and fewer about the people, and more about there's money surplus. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And greed.
It is unreal, and I think everybody needs to realize what's going on. But it's so hard to get this out of Kamala for obvious reasons. When she's interviewed and she hems and haws and dances around and says everything's fairy tales and ponies and and bright shiny objects and squirrel, she gets distracted by all this, and it's like, look, woman, tell us what it's all about. Be upfront about it. But she doesn't. She wants to purposely deceive you.
Well, like I said, I mean, if she were to spend a half an hour and really just hit bullet points on the tax plan that we just showed, like I said, I would say 80% of her voters are going to run scared because they're not going to want to do this.
Yeah.
And and God knows what would happen to the average American and our economy if this actually goes through, or if it's something that's implemented.
Well,
I mean, I can't.
she talks a big game about all these things she's going to do once she gets elected in office. Well, hey, guess what? I believe you're already in office.
Mhm.
And you say you're going to close the border. You can do it right now, but you're not.
Well, that's the thing. She's trying to blow smoke and mirrors and trying to make people believe that she has no control over these things. And I think she's doing a good job at it, to be honest with you,
Oh, yeah.
because people aren't asking that question. We're asking that question.
Yeah.
And people, even rhinos, are asking that question now, which is, I think, is pretty awesome. But at the same time, the D's aren't asking that question. They're kind of just saying, "Oh yeah, well, when you get in, she has control." Yeah, she has control to do something about it now. She had the power to do something about it a year ago.
Yeah.
She had the power to do something about it when she first got it in, her seat in office.
Yeah.
But she did shit. She did jack shit.
We could have had low gas prices, but because Trump got that going, they had to eliminate it. We could have had we left a military base in Afghanistan that China now controls. Good job, guys. We left $85 billion worth of equipment, guns, rockets, missiles, tanks, armored vehicles, you name it, to the Taliban. Okay. We've left all this stuff. We have spent more money, in turn created higher inflation. So everything costs a lot more. All of this could have been was preventable.
Yeah.
And they didn't do a thing about it. Do you remember, people, when you were paying in places like here, like in Utah, Arizona, Colorado, $5 a gallon? It wasn't like $7 or $8 like it was in California or Illinois or New York or whatever, but it was still $5 a gallon.
Yeah.
And we're still at 360.
Yeah, it's insane. And we're happy about it.
Oh, and we're thrilled to death. Oh, thank God.
Excuse me. Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And
Thank God.
we're happy that it's not, I mean, it's bumped all the way to $3.95.
Yeah.
We're stoked that it's
I
back
can get
down to
I can get a dozen eggs for
$3.40.
$2+. Well, I remember when it was almost $4 for a dozen eggs. Oh, but it came down. No,
Yeah.
You guys did that. You bumped it way the hell up, and now all of a sudden it's everything's kind of coming down to a level area because that's right, there's an election coming up, and it's just like, is Trump the greatest thing in the world? No. Is he wonderful about everything he does? No. Did we call him out on his IVF treatment, his in vitro fertilization, where he wanted to mandate that insurance companies pay for it, which means that you and I have to pay for it when we don't even want that service?
Mm-hmm.
We called him out on that. We call him out when there's things that are wrong. I'm calling her out on all this stuff because we all have friends and family members who want to worship the ground that this woman walks on when they could care less about her when she was the VP. But now that she's running for the presidency, all of a sudden she's the greatest thing in the world that walks on water.
Well, and the flip-flopping that even that party's done, you know what I mean, with this is just ridiculous. But it just goes to show that there's no loyalty in anything. All they want is a puppet that they can control.
Yep.
And that's what they're going to get with her. And that's why they're backing her.
Right. I mean,
even though no one voted for her.
Yeah.
Even
not one vote for her, by the way.
Yeah.
You guys happy about that? Are you happy you had a say so in who your Democratic candidate was?
Yeah. Not
that would kind of piss me off. Isn't that a threat to democracy?
Yeah.
Isn't weaponizing the DOJ against your opponent, aka Trump, with all these bullshit lawsuits for declassified documents, for the hush money trial because he made an accounting error and they turned to something that was past statute of limitations, and they somehow figured out a way to get it into make it a big felony, and then there's 34 counts that are all being thrown out, by the way, because none of them could stick.
Yeah.
And then you have the Fannie Willis, and then you have the 3 assassination attempts. Do you not see? And then, do you know there's 5 assassination teams apparently that are coming
Yeah.
after Trump to try to kill him?
Yeah, there's 5. They said.
Okay, I'm sorry. He is not this threat to democracy that you people have been fooled into thinking. He's just not. You are listening to the mainstream media who are owned by the Democrat Party. The Democrat Party, all they want to do is be in power. That's why they're bringing in masses, millions upon millions of people across the border. That could have been stopped from day one, but no, they allowed that to happen in Mayorkas. The border is secure. You need to be punched in the face, you little goofy, bald-headed weirdo.
Yeah, that guy's a joke. Well, he's about as big a joke as she is, because they're do nothing. They're stand-ins, you know what I mean? And that's ridiculous.
It's just amazing how many people will sell this country out just so they can stay in power. And the people who keep voting them in, thinking that they're the better option, are not seeing the bigger picture here.
Yeah, and that's the problem, and that's the sad thing, and that's why we say, hey, question everything.
Yeah.
Dig a little bit deeper, and look at what is really going on.
Yeah.
And look at what you're voting for. So look and see how look at the pros and cons.
Mm-hmm. Just because you're a fan of the team that you're watching doesn't mean, when your team doesn't get called to fouls and you think it's so wonderful, and then the fouls get called on the other team all the time and you think that's great, and you don't sit there and go, well, that doesn't seem right.
Something's a little off here. Mm-hmm.
You are walking around with blinders on. You are walking around with ultimate bias. You are walking around in this delirious kind of world where you think that that's okay. And we are not Venezuela, North Korea, Saudi Arabia, Iran, whatever, Russia. We don't eliminate our political opponents by trying to knock them off. We vote.
Yeah. We don't just kill them in the streets.
Have to get out and vote. We encourage you to vote for Trump because we feel he is going to be the better candidate. I've seen what he's done in 4 years, and I've seen what she's done or hasn't in 4 years. And he in my eyes is the better option. I mean, I have people in my family who can't even I can't even utter his name, and blah, blah, and they get major Trump derangement syndrome with these people. And it's sad. And like, oh my God, I'm sorry your life is so horrible. I love you to death, but you've got to be able to grow up and be able to discuss this in a not professional, but in an adult manner.
Well, in an adult
and
manner.
Be able to discuss it and disagree with me. That's fine. I don't care.
Well, but you got to cite the reasons that you disagree.
And saying she's not Trump is not an answer.
Well, and cite and like I said earlier, citing character flaws, we can do that all day long. And that's child. And that's childish. And that doesn't get to the root of the issue and the root of your your stance. Yeah.
And voting for her just because she's the first woman and woman of color, that is not a reason to vote for her.
It's not.
You are not in third grade. Unbelievable.
Well, people are even waking up to that pandering too, which I'm happy about, and I'm talking about people of color. People of color, and I'm not just saying blacks, and I'm not just saying Hispanics. I'm saying people that would normally vote, for a person of color just because they're a person of color. Right. They're waking up to that.
Yeah.
And they're waking up to the pandering, and they're waking up to the fake accents and all that kind of shit, because it's fake. It's fake.
It's divisive. It's identity politics that this person is this, that, and the other. It's like, well, can they not be like an American and for everybody? And if you don't believe that Trump is for everybody, I mean, just listen to him when he's talking about keeping factories open and keeping jobs here. That's for everybody, because not everybody works in these places. Vote Republican.
And it's it's an insult to people's intelligence.
Yeah.
Because I think that, people are a lot more intelligent when you can sit down and look at things and question things and start to form your own opinions, then I think that, obviously, she gives them credit for, or even Trump might give them credit for,
Right.
And I think that, that's the thing that we have to remember, that if we're sitting down, we're doing our research, and we are, we're really focusing on what's important to us as individuals, our family, our food costs, our gas costs, our basic cost of livings, our
safety walking around the streets of our towns.
Our safety, our quality of life.
Yeah.
Can we go to the park and have a picnic anymore?
Yeah.
Can we do that? Can we do those kind of things? If
we have look at infrastructure like electricity and gas and water and everything that powers our homes, just the normal basic things, because we're not a third world African nation or South American country or whatever, fill in the blank. We are not that. We are a wealthy nation and we should act like it. But the way things are going, we're turning slowly into you got to have brownouts. You can't do this, that, and the other. That's not what this country was built on.
No,
and built for.
And when you look at those kind of things, what matter to you, then look at the candidates that you have to choose from, and in the long run, look at what their policies are going to do. Are they going to promote the lifestyle that you want, or are they going to hinder the lifestyle that you want? Right. And that's what you really have to look at. And I said, I don't love everything about Trump, and I don't love all of his policies. However, I think for the majority, that's kind of in the long run, that's where I want my lifestyle to be.
There's more beneficial for me and most people from what he has in his policies than what she has, and then what he doesn't have that I don't like. So it comes down to that. There's more of what I think is going to make every person, Democrat, Republican, Independent, and so on, alike, be more prosperous and live a better lifestyle from his policies than from hers, where all she wants to do is take from you and give to other people and other places. And it's annoying.
That are not our country.
Yeah.
And that's
bullshit. Well, let's wrap this up.
Yeah, let's wrap up.
Yeah. I think we had a good talk. I hope it made sense for everybody and you enjoyed a little bit. We had a little bit. We hope we opened your eyes a little bit about what she's trying to do a little bit more so. And I hope you vote either way, whatever, but get out and vote. And that's a big thing. So
yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, have a good one. We will talk to you on the next one, and we'll see you then.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Lunatic is on the grass.